Mindful Life Practice community.
Okay. Let's start our practice on our back body. And I'm going to give you an option. If you want, we're going to come into a butterfly. And if you want to put a block between your feet to just kind of deepen the stretch, you can. And then place one hand on your heart and one hand on your navel. So this is your butterfly pose. And I think most of you have done yin with me before and you know what that's all about. But our yin practice is about dropping into stillness for an extended period of time. Coming into what can sometimes be uncomfortable shapes. And resting into the shape, despite the discomfort. And I have to tell you all what thought has just popped into my mind. And the thought that has popped into my mind is that Em and I were just talking about how her mug company is 5 years old. And that means that I was married and divorced 5 years ago. But I wrote on my Instagram that it happened 4 years ago. And this fact just dawned on me right now as you guys were dropping into this shape. And I think that fact is a testimony to how time heals all wounds. Right at the time that it was happening to me, I thought I would never get over and never move past this pain. And actually, I almost didn't even remember that it was our anniversary weekend last weekend. And clearly I got the date wrong completely, the year wrong completely. And I think that just shows that sometimes when we're going through stuff, we feel like it's never going to end. One day we'll look back on it and we'll laugh, and it will just become part of our story, part of our journey. So take a few more breaths in this shape. I realized that story totally distracted me from intention setting. And our practice tonight is going to be deep hip release. Whatever we resist persists. And maybe your intention here is just to let go of what you're holding on to, whatever that might be. We'll take a few more breaths. And then we're just going to bring our knees into close. And we're going to come all the way up to seated. And we're going to take one more butterfly pose. So we're going to place our soles of feet around the block if you want to. And if you don't have the block, you can just take it normal. And then take a breath in. And then walk your hands forward. Starting to hinge forward. And I'm going to switch over the playlist. For anyone who's a yoga teacher, I did something that you should never do, which is pull up a new playlist. I have a membership to DJ Taz Rashid's music library, who is a brilliant musician. And so I have a membership for our studio so we can use his music royalty free. And one of the things that comes with is 108 pre-made playlists. So I thought today, you know, I'm going to pull up one of these playlists, and I didn't listen to it. And it was called like Deep Chill #1. And I was like, oh, that's going to be perfect for Yin. And I was expecting it to be more like this kind of vibe. And there's a bit too much of a beat for my liking. And you know, it's kind of like that thing we learn in elementary school teaching, which is that you should always watch a YouTube video before you play it for your class. And I never do that. Anyway, you should always listen to your playlist before you play it for your class. And that's a lesson that I have learned again today. So the Buddha says that you can only lose what you cling to. And the hip joint, it's where the head of the femur bone nestles into the acetabulum. The word acetabulum comes from the Latin acet, meaning acid. The hip region, it's tightly bound for a reason. It gives us stability, and it can feel glued together through sitting, through overexertion, through lack of energy, through injury. And tight muscles resist the smooth flow of energy through the arteries, through the connective tissues. Let's take a few more breaths in this forward fold. Good, and then we're gonna come all the way up. And the next pose you're gonna take is called caterpillar. Okay, so it's a simple forward fold. You're gonna extend your legs out in front of you. And if you feel like it's difficult to like tip over, You could also place a bolster underneath your sits bones just to give you a little bit of leverage. And then I like to lengthen up through the heart and then just kind of start to hinge forward. And we are going to be here for 3 minutes. So know that there's no goal of reaching for anything. Just kind of let the pull of gravity bring you more and more into the shape. Try to have a little bit of a micro bend through the knees so that you're not overdoing it. So I think the hips in general are a metaphor for almost like the junk drawer of the house. Right? I think all of us have some form of a junk drawer where we just kind of hoard our stuff, the stuff that we don't know how to get rid of, or we don't know what to do with, or we can't let go of, and it just accumulates there. And if you ever do open it, it's really quick just to shove something else in and then shove it closed. And the hips are like that part of the body. All of our emotional trauma, all of our triggers, all of our stories, they all get parked here. And if we don't ever access the hips, if we don't ever release that stuff, then it just stays stuck. Right? Whatever we resist persists. We lose only what we cling to. Just take a few more breaths here. And then we're going to gently roll all the way up. Just slowly start to transition into our next shape. So the pose that we're about to do, it's called dragon. And if you have sensitive knees, we're going to be on the back knee for 3 minutes. So if you have sensitive knees, feel free to put a cushion or flip your mat or a towel or something like that. And the first variation of this shape is just to have your right foot forward and then plant your palms on top of your thigh. Okay, so this is option 1. And now option 2, if you want to take it a little bit deeper, you're going to take your block on the mat and then just step your foot on top of the block and then interlace your palms and rest them on the thigh. With the knowledge that we will be here for 3 minutes. So don't overcommit, but know that you can always break your commitments. You can always back out if it's too much. But try to choose something that's sustainable. And know that our goal here is to reduce stress from our lives, right? Rather than add stress. Whatever discomfort is showing up for you right now, I invite you to inquire into that. Am I annoyed? Am I impatient? Am I bored? Am I frustrated? Maybe I'm chilling and I'm totally neutral. What is arising for you when you're put into an uncomfortable pose? Give it 3 more deep breaths. And now we're going to stay with our right foot forward. If you're on your block, you're going to step off your block. And then the next pose that we're going to come into is lizard. Okay, so you're going to walk your foot wide. It's a dragon variation. And then you might be on the palms, you might come onto the elbows, and I want to show you an option with the block. If you want to deepen it, you're going to take your block and then place it underneath your shin. And then you might come onto the elbows as well. And we'll be here for 3 minutes as well. I think this whole idea of holding on and letting go, it's like a very human experience that all of us can relate to at some point in our lives. You know, yoga teachers tell us over and over again to let go. And it sounds so simple. But if it were really that simple, why would we need to be reminded to do it so often? I think when given the choice, humans tend to hold on. Because staying in familiarity is sometimes easier than dealing with change, or the way Elizabeth Gilbert described it in Eat, Pray, Love was her life crumbling to ruins. Elizabeth Gilbert wrote, she said, ruin is a gift. Ruin is the road to transformation. Stay here for a few more breaths. Know that you can hold it. You can stay with the pose despite how uncomfortable it is, despite how much pain you're in. Actually, pain is not a good thing. If you have a sharp jabbing pain, then you can back out. But if it's just a mental annoyance, remind yourself that you can do it. You can do hard things. And this is a resilience training, right? If you can cope with discomfort here in this controlled setting in your mat, then you can learn to manage it in your life as well. Take a few more breaths. And then come all the way up. Press through the palms. You're going to lift up. Just slide the block to the side if it's there. Touch your toes together. Sit your hips back on your heels. Rest your forehead. Come into your child's pose. And this is just kind of a neutral pose between right and left. I want you to observe the differences from the right side and the left side, since we've just practiced two asymmetrical poses. What feels different on your right side compared to your left? And then let's do it the other way. So eventually rolling all the way up. Good, coming all the way up again. And the first pose will take, your right knee will be back. Your left foot will step forward. You can either place the foot on the block or place it on the mat. And then lengthen up with your palms interlaced on top of the thigh. So this book, Meditations from the Mat, it's like my spiritual text. You're supposed to read each page day by day over the course of a year, but I've never done it that way. I just kind of flip open the book to whatever page it lands on, and that's the page I read. I want to share with you this passage I came across this morning. says, a friend of mine was deep in a funk. Feeling overwhelmed by life. When he ran into his yoga teacher. And my friend ran his list of woes past his teacher, who replied mildly, "Whenever I find my plate this full, I just believe that everything is going to work out." And so can you. Faith is a choice that is available to us all at any moment. And it supports us under pressure more effectively than our own inner debating committee. So today, see what happens when you keep it simple. Let go of the questions. Set aside the fears. And remember that things will work out. So just breathe and smile. And put one foot in front of the other. Let's lower down. Good. Slide the block to the side, widen your stance. And we're coming into that lizard pose. So your option here is to have your knee flat, or you might put it onto the block. Maybe you come onto the elbows. Oh, now I just got a notification saying you have been signed out of Zoom because your account has been signed in from another device. So let's hope Siobhan doesn't have Spanish tutoring. I'm just kidding. I think we've all learned from the glitches and the jumps of Zoom this year. We've all accidentally ended meetings or jumped into meetings. I actually was in a call last night with my my therapist, and it dawned on me midway through the meeting. It was like 7:20 p.m. and I was like, oh my God, what Zoom account am I on right now? And I was on the mindful life practice, and you guys, there was a pranayama class, or there was an Om chanting class happening in like 5 minutes. And I was like, poor Pooja is probably trying to start this class, and it says there's a meeting in progress, and I'm here just like talking to my therapist. But this is kind of the world that we've all adapted and adjusted to. And our Zoom meeting hasn't ended, so the person who accidentally logged in must have realized. I guess that's an example of us learning to let go. Right, learning to accept that there will be glitches and technical things with Zoom, and internet and life, and this is just part of the world we live in now. Just give it one more minute. You can do it. You can sit with this discomfort. You can be with it. You're doing awesome. Know that every single scenario, every pose, every moment is impermanent. Nothing lasts forever. It will all pass. A few more breaths. Okay, I lied, more than a few more breaths. Waiting for the minute to clock. Nice work, you did it. Come all the way up. Wow. Step your feet back, slide your block to the side. And then just come onto your knees again, and then one more time. Sit your hips back on your heels, rest your forehead. Process that shape. Process that experience. We're going to do one more pose before we get into our shavasana. And that's going to be a standing forward fold. And so I'm going to give you a few options. You can just come to dangle, gripping opposite elbows, letting your fingertips brush the mat. Or if you feel like taking it a little deeper, which I have been loving doing lately, I'm going to walk my body over to a wall. And then as you walk your feet in, you can kind of use the wall to pull you a little deeper into the shape. And it's just like 3 minutes of my butt in the camera screen. You guys can close your eyes, keeping your gaze low. And just allow your blood to flow to the brain. And allow the weight of the world to kind of roll off your shoulders. take a few more breaths. And then we're going to just slowly roll all the way up to stand. Bringing your head all the way up, relaxing through the shoulders. And can you just let this be a moment to kind of check in? And notice if anything within you has shifted throughout this practice over the course of this last hour. Maybe you've had a bit of an experience of coming home. And then we'll come back down to seated. You can choose what your final resting pose will be for the last 10 minutes. So if you want to finish off in a seated meditation, another option is to come back to that butterfly pose, which we started our practice with, and just observe what has shifted, maybe feels more spacious than it did at the start. Maybe you want to extend your legs all the way out into a full shavasana. Just pick a posture that is going to hold you. While you process this practice. And know that I'm going to bring you back in a few moments when the time is up. I wanna be free, so free, like a feather blowing through the breeze, like a bird in a tree, like a dolphin in the sea. I wanna fly high, so high, like an eagle in the sky. And when my time has come, I will let it all go with a sigh. Pachamama, coming home to the place where I belong. Pachamama, coming home to the place where I belong. Pachamama, coming home to the place where I belong. Pachamama, coming home to the place where I belong. Give your fingers and your toes a little bit of a wake up wiggle. Stretching through your body. Just pause for a moment to really listen. We went on a little bit of a musical journey today when I had totally the wrong music at the start. And then we had another music accompanying us. And now we've let go of the music and we've received silence. And what noises do you hear around you when you get really quiet and you just listen? I noticed when I started my home yoga practice that I heard the refrigerator hum for the first time. Is there anything like that? Slowly just make your way into a little squeeze of a ball, and then no hurries or worries, make your way up to your seated shape. And then bring your palms at heart center. What would you be lighter if you let go of? Maybe finishing the sentence, I would be lighter if I let go of. Whatever that might be. And then we close with our intention. It's an ancient intention, but it's perhaps the original intention. It was passed down from the heart of my teacher, and I pass it to you. And it's that our practice remain steady and our efforts remain continuous, and that our yoga helps and heals not just us as individuals, but our collective society as a whole. May all beings be happy and healthy and free, and may the thoughts and actions of each of our lives contribute towards this. And we'll finish with an Om. We're going to inhale and exhale and inhale through to make the Om. So take a breath in. And then a breath out. And a breath in. Oh. Thank you so much for sharing the space and the practice. The light in me, it sees and it honors the light in you. Namaste.